You think the enemy is outside your gates. You think the danger comes from strangers, from competitors, from people who openly dislike you. You're wrong. The knife doesn't come from across the battlefield. It comes from the chair next to you at the table, from the person who laughs at your jokes, from the one who knows where you sleep. Betrayal doesn't work because someone hates you. It works because you opened the door yourself. Let me tell you something uncomfortable. The people closest to you right now, some of them are waiting for you to fall. Not all of them, but some. And you already sense it. You felt that cold flutter in your gut when they smile too wide, when their congratulations feel hollow, when their advice somehow always leads you backward. You ignore it. You call yourself paranoid. You tell yourself you're being negative. You are not paranoid. You are noticing. And that noticing is your survival instinct screaming at you to wake up. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He wrote, "Men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that one who deceives will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived." You allow it, not because you're stupid, but because you mistake proximity for loyalty. You think time equals trust. You think shared history means shared allegiance. It doesn't. Proximity is just geography. History is just time. Neither guarantees that the person beside you won't strike when it benefits them. Let me paint you a picture. You have a friend. You've known them for years. They've been there through breakups, through failures, through late-night conversations where you spilled your fears. You trust them completely. Then you get the promotion. You launch the business. You meet someone who changes your life. Suddenly they go quiet. Their texts are shorter. Their enthusiasm fades. They start making small comments. Little jabs disguised as jokes. Suggestions that sound like concern but feel like sabotage. You brush it off. You tell yourself they're just having a bad day. But it keeps happening. And one day, you find out they've been talking behind your back, spreading doubt, planting seeds of failure in places you can't see. You're devastated. You ask yourself, why? What did I do? Here's the truth. You didn't do anything wrong. You did something worse. You succeeded, and they couldn't handle it. Comment, "I see it now," if you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted. Because once you see this pattern, you can never unsee it. And that's when your real power begins. The reason most people get destroyed by fake friends is that they refuse to accept what betrayal actually is. They think betrayal is an emotional act, a crime of passion, a moment of hatred. It's not. Betrayal is a calculation. It's cold. It's rational. It's a decision made when someone weighs the value of your friendship against the value of their own gain, and you come up short. That's it. No drama. No evil villain monologue. Just arithmetic. Machiavelli didn't write about loyalty because he believed in it. He wrote about it because he understood how rare it truly was. He said, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." People aren't loyal to you. They're loyal to what you represent at any given moment. When that changes, so does their allegiance. And here's the part that will sting. Most of the time, they don't even feel guilty about it. Because in their mind, they're not betraying you. They're choosing themselves. And to them, that's not wrong. It's survival. Let's get specific. Why do friends betray? There are 3 core reasons, and none of them have anything to do with you being a bad person. First, opportunity. You became vulnerable. You shared something they can use. You lowered your guard. And in that moment, they saw an opening. Maybe it's information they can leverage. Maybe it's a weakness they can exploit. Maybe it's just the realization that you're not as untouchable as they thought. So they take the shot. Not because they hate you, but because the opportunity was there and the cost seemed low. Second, self-interest. You were useful once, now you're not. Or worse, now you're in the way. Maybe you're competing for the same position. Maybe your success makes them look bad by comparison. Maybe staying loyal to you costs them something they want more. Friends don't betray you because you wronged them. They betray you because betraying you gets them closer to what they want. And most people will sacrifice anyone, including you, to avoid losing status, money, or comfort. Third, fear. This one's subtle. They see you rising and they panic, not because they hate you, but because your growth terrifies them. It forces them to confront their own stagnation. Your success is a mirror, and they don't like what they see, so instead of rising with you, they pull you down. They tell themselves it's justified. They say you're changing, that you're not the same person, but what they really mean is you're outgrowing them. And rather than let you leave them behind, they'll sabotage you. First, because if you fall, they don't have to face their own mediocrity. This is the Machiavellian reality. Friendship is a transaction. Not always, not with everyone, but more often than you want to admit. And the moment you understand that, you stop taking betrayal personally. You stop asking why. You start asking what. What did they gain? What did they fear? What changed? Those are the only questions that matter, because betrayal isn't about you, it's about them. And once you see that, you stop being a victim and start being a strategist. Now let's talk about the thing no one wants to admit. The silent killer of every friendship you thought was real. Envy. Not jealousy. Jealousy is when you fear losing something you have. Envy is when you resent someone for having something you do have. And envy doesn't need a reason. It doesn't need logic. It just needs contrast. The moment you have more, do more, or become more than the people around you, you become a psychological threat. And most people don't have the strength to be happy for you. They have the strength to smile while they quietly hope you fail. Machiavelli warned about this. He said, whoever desires constant success must change his conduct with the times. But he also understood that most people can't change. They're locked into who they were when you met them. And when you evolve, when you level up, they don't see growth. They see abandonment. They see betrayal. Not from them to you, from you to them. In their mind, you broke the unspoken contract. You were supposed to stay small with them. You were supposed to struggle together, complain together, stay stuck together. But you left, you improved, and now they hate you for it. Here's what envy looks like in real time. You tell a friend about your success, a promotion, a win, a breakthrough. Watch their face. Really watch it. Is there genuine joy, or is there a flicker of something else? A tightness in the smile, a pause before the congratulations, a shift in their tone. That flicker is everything, because envy doesn't announce itself. It hides, it waits, it festers. And then one day, it strikes. Let me give you an example. Two friends start businesses at the same time. They support each other, share advice, celebrate small wins. Then one of them takes off, revenue grows, clients flood in, opportunities multiply. The other one stalls, struggles, barely survives. Now every conversation is torture for the one who's losing. Not because they're a bad person, but because every win their friend celebrates is a reminder of their own failure. So they start to distance themselves. They stop asking how things are going. They stop celebrating. And eventually, they start subtly undermining. A comment to a mutual contact. A seed of doubt planted at the right moment. They tell themselves they're just being realistic. But what they're really doing is trying to drag their friend back down to their level. Because if their friend fails, they don't have to feel so bad about their own stagnation. This is the zero-sum ego. Most people operate from a mindset of scarcity. They believe there's only so much success, so much love, so much recognition to go around. So when you get more, they feel like they have less. Your gain is their loss, not in reality, but in their mind. And perception is the only reality that matters when it comes to betrayal. You can't logic someone out of envy. You can't convince them to be happy for you. All you can do is see it, name it, and protect yourself from it. The uncomfortable truth is this: your success will cost you relationships, not because you did anything wrong, but because weak people can't stand next to strong ones without feeling diminished. And rather than becoming stronger, they'll try to make you weak. That's not cruelty. That's just human nature. Machiavelli didn't judge it, he just observed it. And so should you. Now let's get tactical. Let's name the three enemies sitting at your table right now, because once you can see them clearly, they lose their power. These are the archetypes of the fake friend, the masks they wear, the roles they play, and I guarantee you know at least one of each. First, the flatterer. This is the person who never challenges you. They agree with everything you say. They praise you constantly. They tell you what you want to hear, not what you need to hear. And it feels good. It feels like loyalty. It feels like support. But it's not. It's a strategy. The flatterer doesn't love you. They love access to you. They need you to feel good around them so they can stay close. Because proximity to you has value. Maybe it's your network. Maybe it's your resources. Maybe it's just the status of being associated with you. But make no mistake, the moment you stop being useful, the flattery stops. And you'll realize they never knew you at all. They only knew the version of you that served them. Machiavelli despised flatterers. He wrote, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. The flatterer lives in appearance. They never want to experience your reality, because your reality might require honesty, criticism, discomfort, and they can't afford that. So they smile, they nod, they compliment, and you mistake their cowardice for kindness. Here's how you spot them. They never disagree, they never push back, they never tell you when you're wrong, and when you fail, they're nowhere to be found. Because they were never there for you. They were there for what you could give them." Second, the crisis architect. This one's more dangerous, because they don't just take, they create. The crisis architect is the friend who always H as a problem, a drama, a disaster, and somehow you're always the one fixing it. At first you feel needed, important, like a good friend. But over time you notice a pattern. Their crises are never ending, their problems are always urgent, and somehow they always require your time, your money, your energy. You start to feel drained, resentful, but you can't say anything, because they'll call you selfish, they'll guilt you, they'll remind you of all the times they were there for you. Except, were they? Or were they just setting up the next extraction? The crisis architect doesn't want solutions, they want dependence. They need you to feel responsible for them. Because as long as you feel responsible, you're controllable, and control is the goal, not friendship. Machiavelli understood this. He said, "He who becomes a slave to habit sees his freedom taken from him. The crisis architect turns your kindness into a habit, and your habit of slavery. You're not their friend, you're their resource. And the moment you set a boundary, they'll turn on you. They'll paint you as the villain, the one who abandoned them. But the truth is, you were never abandoning them. You were freeing yourself. Here's how you test this. Stop solving their problems. Stop giving advice. Stop rescuing. Just listen. Empathize. But don't act. Watch what happens. If they appreciate your presence, they'll stay. If they only valued your utility, they'd disappear. Or worse, they'll punish you. They'll get cold, passive-aggressive. They'll start talking about how you've changed, how you're not the friend you used to be, and that's when you know you were never a friend. You were a tool. Third, the subtle saboteur. This is the most insidious, because they don't look like an enemy. They look like a concerned ally. The subtle saboteur offers advice that sounds reasonable, but always leads you toward failure. They introduce doubt disguised as caution. They frame destruction as protection. And because they do it with a smile, with concern in their voice, you don't see it coming. Let me give you an example. You're about to take a risk, launch something, make a move, and they say, "Are you sure? I just don't want to see you get hurt. Maybe you should wait. Maybe you're not ready. I just care about you." It sounds like love, but it's poison, because what they're really saying is, stay small, stay safe, stay where I can reach you. The subtle saboteur doesn't want you to fail dramatically. They want you to fail quietly, to give up before you start, to doubt yourself into paralysis, because if you succeed, you leave them behind. and they can't handle that. Machiavelli warned, the one who adapts his policy to the times prospers, and likewise the one whose policy clashes with the demands of the times does not. The saboteur's policy is stagnation, and they need you to clash with your own potential so they don't have to face theirs. Here's how you spot them. Pay attention to what they celebrate and what they caution. If they're enthusiastic about your safe choices and concerned about your bold ones, you're looking at a saboteur. If they're always warning you about risks but never encouraging your courage, they're afraid of your success. And if their advice consistently keeps you dependent, small, or stuck, they're not protecting you. They're protecting themselves from the threat of your growth. Which archetype felt uncomfortably familiar? Type 1, 2, or 3 in the comments. Because once you name the mask, you can stop pretending it's a face. So how do you expose them? Not with confrontation, not with drama, not with accusations. Because fake friends are masters of deflection. They'll twist your words. They'll play the victim. They'll make you look paranoid. Instead, you use STS, silent, psychological, surgical. You create conditions that force the mask to slip, and you watch, not with emotion, with cold clarity. First test. Withdraw attention, stop initiating, stop sharing, stop being available, and watch who reaches out. Not to check on you, but to check if you're still useful. The flatterer will panic. They'll suddenly be overly concerned, overly attentive, because they need access. The crisis architect will escalate, create a bigger emergency, force you to respond. And the saboteur will go quiet. Because without your ambition to poison, they have no role. Real friends will notice your distance and ask if you're okay. Fake friends will notice your distance and calculate their next move. Second test. Share a moderate success, not huge, not life-changing, just something good, and watch the reaction. Real friends feel joy. Fake friends feel threat. Look for the pause, the forced smile, the "that's great" but response, the pivot to their own story, the subtle undermining comment. You're not looking for hate, you're looking for discomfort. Because envy doesn't roar, it whispers. Third test. Create a manufactured need. Ask for a small favor, something that costs them time or effort but not much. Real friends help. Fake friends make excuses. But here's the deeper layer. Watch how they help. Do they do it with ease? Or do they make you feel indebted? Do they bring it up later? Do they use it as leverage? Because fake friends don't give, they invest, and they expect returns. Fourth test. Confide a fear or vulnerability, something real but not devastating, and watch what they do with it. Real friends hold it in confidence. Fake friends weaponize it, not immediately, but later. In a moment when it benefits them, they'll use it to diminish you in front of others, or they'll bring it up to make you feel weak when you're trying to be strong. Machiavelli said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally. The fool trusts everyone until they're betrayed. The wise test quietly and act on what they learn." Fifth test. Stop being useful. Stop offering value. Stop solving problems. Stop being the connector, the resource, the solution, and see who stays. Real relationships survive the absence of utility. Fake ones die the moment you stop providing. This is the harshest test, because it will make you feel lonely. It will make you question if you're being too cold. But loneliness based on truth is better than companionship based on lies. And the people who stay when you have nothing to give, those are the ones worth keeping. Here's the key. You don't announce these tests. You don't say, "I'm testing you." You just quietly shift your behavior and observe, because the truth always reveals itself when the conditions change. Fake friends can maintain the mask in comfort, but stress, distance, and lack of reward make the mask slip, and that's when you see who they really are. Now comes the hardest part, seeing without mercy. Because even after all the tests, even after all the evidence, you'll still want to deny it. You'll make excuses for them. You'll rationalize their behavior. You'll tell yourself you're overthinking. You're not. You're just confronting something your ego desperately wants to avoid. That you were wrong about them. That you wasted time, energy, and trust on someone who didn't deserve it. And admitting that feels like failure. But it's not a failure. It's wisdom. Machiavelli wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel." You've been judging by what you want to see. Now you have to judge by what you feel. And what you feel is the truth. That coldness, that distance, that sense that something is off. That's not paranoia, that's perception. And perception, when you stop fighting it, is the most accurate compass you have. Here's what you need to kill. The need to be liked, the need to be seen as kind, the need to give people the benefit of the doubt. These are weaknesses disguised as virtues, and fake friends exploit them ruthlessly. They know you'll forgive. They know you'll rationalize. They know you'll choose peace over truth. And that's how they keep the mask on. Because you're helping them wear it. You're doing their work for them. Stop. Seeing without mercy doesn't mean you become cruel. It means you become clear. You stop lying to yourself. You stop protecting people who are harming you. You stop valuing their feelings over your safety. And yes, it will hurt. Because you'll have to let go of people you wanted to keep. You'll have to admit you were used. You'll have to face the fact that some of your closest relationships were built on sand. But that pain is temporary. The damage of staying blind is permanent. Let me tell you what happens when you refuse to see. You get drained, slowly, quietly. You lose opportunities because someone whispered doubt at the right moment. You lose confidence because someone kept planting seeds of fear. You lose time because someone kept creating crises that didn't need to exist. And one day, you wake up exhausted, isolated, and wondering how you got here. You got here because you valued their comfort over your clarity. And that ends now. The acceptance of reality is not cynicism, it's power. Because once you stop hoping people will change, once you stop waiting for them to suddenly become who you need them to be, you can act. And action is the only thing that transforms pain into leverage. You don't need closure, you don't need confrontation, you don't need them to admit what they did. You just need to see it, accept it, and move accordingly. So what do you do once you say, end the truth? You neutralize. Not with aggression, not with drama, not with revenge, with strategy. Because the goal is not to destroy them, the goal is to make them irrelevant, and you do that through 3 cold, surgical techniques. First, gray rock. You become boring, unreactive, emotionally flat. When they try to provoke you, you don't bite. When they fish for information, you give nothing. When they try to pull you into their chaos, you stay neutral. You become a stone, smooth, hard, uninteresting. And over time, they lose interest. Because fake friends need a reaction. They need drama. They need you to engage. And when you refuse, they move on to someone else. This isn't avoidance. It's control. You're not hiding. You're simply refusing to play a game that doesn't serve you. Grey rock works because it removes supply. Narcissists, manipulators, and fake friends feed on attention. Positive or negative, it doesn't matter. They just need you to respond. And when you stop responding, they starve. You don't ghost them. You don't block them. You just become beige, boring, forgettable. And they fade without ever realizing you pushed them out. Second, strategic proximity. You don't cut them off. You just control the distance. You limit access. You reduce frequency. You keep conversations surface level. You stop sharing anything real. They're still in your life, but only at the edges. This is crucial when you share social circles, workplaces, or family ties. You can't always remove someone completely, but you can always control how close they get. Machiavelli understood this. He said, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. But the real wisdom is knowing that some friends are enemies. And once you know that, you adjust proximity accordingly. Strategic proximity means you're polite but distant, friendly but unavailable, present but unreachable. You attend the EV. Hence, you show up to the gatherings, but you don't stay long, you don't engage deeply, you don't give them ammunition, and most importantly, you don't give them the satisfaction of knowing they got to you. Because the moment they sense they hurt you, they win. The moment they see you're unbothered, they lose. Third, reflective silence. This is the most powerful. When they make a subtle jab, you don't defend. You don't argue. You just pause, look at them, and let the silence sit. That silence forces them to hear what they just said. It turns the spotlight back on them. And most people can't handle that. They'll backtrack. They'll laugh it off. They'll claim they were joking. But you both know. And that knowing shifts the power, because now they realize you see them. And once someone knows you see them, they can't operate the same way. Reflective silence is not passive. It's a statement. It says, I see what you just did. I'm not going to dignify it with a response, but I see it, and I'm remembering it. This technique works because it bypasses the need for confrontation. You don't have to call them out. You don't have to start a fight. You just hold up a mirror with your silence and let them see themselves. Most people will recoil. Some will even apologize, not because they feel bad, but because they realize the mask slipped. These three techniques, gray rock, strategic proximity, and reflective silence, allow you to disarm fake friends without creating enemies. Because enemies are expensive. They take energy. They create drama. They pull you into battles you don't need to fight. But neutralized fake friends? They're just background noise. You don't hate them. You don't fear them. You just don't invest in them. And that indifference is the ultimate power move. If silence feels more powerful than anger, comment cold control. Because once you master neutralization, you stop reacting and start orchestrating. Now let's rebuild. Because the goal was never isolation. The goal was clarity. And once you have clarity, you can build something real. But you have to understand what real friendship actually is. And I promise you, it's not what you think. Real friendship is not unconditional. It's not forever. It's not sacred. Real friendship is a hierarchy. And the sooner you accept that, the stronger your circle becomes. At the top, you have loyalists. These are rare, maybe 2 or 3 in a lifetime. These are the people who have proven, through time and fire, that they will stand with you even when it costs them something. Not because they gain from it, but because their values align so deeply with yours that your success is their success. Not transactionally, philosophically. These are the people who challenge you, who tell you the truth, who push you to be better, and who celebrate your wins without envy. You don't find these people. You build these relationships through years of mutual respect, shared struggle, and consistent integrity. Below that, you have allies. These are people whose interests align with yours temporarily. You help each other. You support each other. But you're both clear that the relationship is conditional. And that's not a bad thing. It's honest. Allies are useful. They're valuable. But you don't trust them with your life. You trust them with specific domains where your goals overlap. And when those goals diverge, the alliance ends. No drama, no betrayal, just a natural conclusion. Machiavelli built his entire philosophy on understanding alliances. He knew that most relationships are temporary, and he didn't mourn that. He leveraged it. Below allies, you have acquaintances. These are people you interact with regularly but don't invest in deeply. Co-workers, neighbors, social media connections. They're pleasant. You're functional, but they're not your circle. And you don't pretend they are. You're polite, you're kind, but you're also boundaried. You don't share your plans. You don't expose your vulnerabilities. You keep it light. And that's perfectly fine. Not everyone deserves depth, and trying to force depth with people who only belong in the shallow end is how you get hurt. The mistake most people make is treating everyone like a loyalist. They give everyone the same level of trust, access, and investment. And then they're shocked when 90% of those people disappoint them. But it's not their fault. It's yours. You put them in the wrong category. You expected loyalty from an ally. You expected depth from an acquaintance. And when they acted according to their actual level of investment, you called it betrayal. It wasn't betrayal, it was a miscalculation. On your part, here's the empowering truth. Once you stop trying to make everyone your best friend, once you accept the hierarchy, you stop feeling lonely. Because loneliness isn't the absence of people. It's the presence of the wrong people. And the moment you clear out the wrong people, you make space for the right ones. But you also make space for yourself. And that's where the real power is. Because a strong person doesn't need a crowd. They need a few real ones, and the confidence to stand alone when necessary. Now let's turn the blade inward, because the uncomfortable truth is this. The reason fake friends got close in the first place is that you let them. Not because you're stupid, but because you had a weakness. And that weakness sent a signal. It said, I'm available, I'm exploitable, I need you. And they heard it. So if you want to become untouchable, you have to kill the weakness. And the weakness has three faces. First, ego. You wanted to be seen as a good friend, the loyal one, the one who's always there, and that ID. Entity became more important than your actual well-being. So you tolerated disrespect. You ignored red flags. You gave more than you got. Not because you're generous, but because you needed the identity. You needed to be needed. And fake friends can smell that desperation from a mile away. They know that someone who needs to be seen as kind will sacrifice themselves to maintain that image. So they exploit it. They take and take and take, and you let them. Because saying no would mean admitting you're not the person you pretend to be. Here's the fix. Stop performing kindness. Start practicing discernment. Kindness without boundaries is not a virtue, it's self-destruction. Real kindness requires strength. It requires the ability to say no, to walk away, to let people face the consequences of their actions without rescuing them. And that's hard, because it doesn't feel kind, but it is. Because you're teaching people how to treat you, and when you let people treat you poorly, you're not being kind to them. You're enabling their worst behavior. Stop it. Second, validation hunger. You needed their approval, their admiration, their recognition. So you performed. You shared your wins. You sought their praise. And when they gave it, you felt seen. But here's the problem. The moment you need external validation, you become controllable. Because now they know what you want, and they can withhold it, or give it strategically, or dangle it just out of reach. And you'll keep performing, keep chasing, keep proving yourself, hoping that one day they'll give you the approval you crave. But they won't. Because keeping you hungry keeps you useful. Here's the fix. Validate yourself. Stop sharing your wins with people who haven't earned the right to know them. Stop seeking approval from people whose opinion shouldn't matter. Start building internal metrics of success. Did you do what you said you'd do? Did you act with integrity? Did you move closer to your goals? If yes, that's enough. You don't need applause. You don't need witnesses. You just need results. And the moment you stop needing external validation, fake friends lose their leverage, because they can't give you what you no longer want. Third, savior complex. You believed you could fix them, change them, save them. And that belief made you stay long after you should have left, because leaving would mean admitting you failed, that you couldn't help them, that they didn't want to be saved. And your ego can't handle that, so you stay. You keep trying, you keep giving. And they keep taking, because they know you won't leave. Not because you love them, but because you love the idea of being the one who saved them. Here's the fix. Accept that you can't save anyone. People change when they want to change, not when you want them to. And trying to force growth in someone who's content with stagnation is not noble. It's arrogant. You're not a savior. You're a human with limits. And those limits are sacred. Protect them. Let people fail. Let them face consequences. Let them learn or not learn. It's not your job to rescue them. It's your job to protect your own energy. And the moment you let go of the savior complex, you stop attracting people who need saving. You start attracting people who are already whole. And that's when real relationships begin. Kill the weakness, not by becoming cold, but by becoming sovereign. A person who knows their worth doesn't need to prove it. A person who values their energy doesn't waste it. A person who respects themselves doesn't tolerate disrespect. And that person is untouchable, not because they're isolated, but because they're selective. And selectivity is the highest form of self-respect. So here we are, at the end. And you're different now, not because I told you something you didn't know, but because I named something you've been avoiding. You've always known. You've felt it in your gut, the distance, the coldness, the subtle betrayals. You just didn't want to admit it, because admitting it meant facing the pain, the loneliness, the reality that some of the people you loved didn't love you back. Not really. But now you've faced it, and you're still standing, stronger actually, because the illusions are dead, and illusions are heavy. You just didn't realize how much they were weighing you down until you let them go. Here's what you need to understand. Alone is not weak. Being alone is not sad. Being alone is not a failure. Alone is clarity. It's the space where you stop performing and start becoming. It's where you stop seeking approval and start building power. It's where you stop tolerating and start selecting. And in that solitude, you will find something most people spend their entire lives searching for. Yourself, not the version you perform for others, not the version you think you should be, but the raw, unfiltered, sovereign version of you that exists when no one is watching. That version is powerful. That version is dangerous. That version doesn't need a crowd, and that version will attract the only kind of people worth having in your life. Other sovereign individuals who don't need you but choose you. And that choice, that conscious, deliberate, mutual choice, is the foundation of real loyalty. Machiavelli never promised that power would be easy. He never said that seeing the truth would feel good. But he did promise that the person who sees clearly and acts accordingly will survive, will thrive, will rise above the chaos that drowns everyone else. And that's what you're doing now. You're not being cynical. You're being strategic. You're not being cold. You're being wise. You're not being cruel. You're being sovereign. And sovereignty is the only real freedom. So what now? You rebuild. But you rebuild differently. You don't open the gates to everyone. You make people earn access. You don't give trust freely. You make people prove they deserve it. You don't tolerate disrespect for the sake of peace. You enforce boundaries and let people decide if they can meet them. And most won't. Most will fall away, and that's fine. Because the few who stay, the ones who rise to your standards, who respect your boundaries, who match your energy, those are the ones worth keeping. And they'll be worth more than 100 fake friends ever were. You're not alone. You're just finally surrounded by the right frequency. And that frequency is power. Subscribe if you're done being prey, because everything I just told you is the surface. The deeper strategies, the ones that can't be said publicly, those are for the people who are ready to go further, to operate on a level most people can't even perceive. If that's you, you know what to do. If it's not, that's fine too. But don't say I didn't warn you. The world is not kind to the naive, but it kneels before the aware. Drop this affirmation in the comments if you're ready. I see clearly. I act ruthlessly. I rise alone. Because once you can say that and mean it, you're no longer prey. You're the predator. And the game just changed. One last thing. You're going to feel guilty. You're going to question if you're being too harsh, too cold, too paranoid. Let me settle that for you. You're not. You're just finally seeing. And seeing feels harsh because you've been blind for so long. But the harsh truth is better than comfortable lies, because comfortable lies keep you weak. And you're done being weak. You're done being exploited. You're done opening gates to people who burn down the castle. This is not cruelty. This is survival. This is a strategy. This is power. And power, real power, doesn't apologize for protecting itself. Welcome to the other side. It's cold here, it's quiet here, but it's yours. And no one, not a single fake friend, not a single parasite, not a single mask-wearing traitor, can touch you here. Because you finally understand, the knife was always at the table. You just stopped pretending it wasn't. And now that you see it, you control it. Game over.